Hey guys, welcome back to the Hub. Today we are going to be talking about 5 of my top picks from Season of the Chosen. I'm picking these weapons because they are either really lethal or really fun. I'm not always going to go for the most meta option. Sometimes I like guns just because they feel good and they're fun. I remember all the way back in Destiny 1 in 2014, I got Hexcaster Arc as my very first legendary, and I loved that thing. It was an absolute bullet hose, and even though it was pretty trash in reality, I had a lot of fun with it. So that's kind of the approach I'm taking for this. If it's fun, it feels good, I like it. Although if you're lucky, you do get the best of both worlds, feels good and actually performs great. And we do have a couple of those on this list. But before we get into the list, real quick, if you aren't subscribed, I'd love it if you did. It would help me out a ton. I try to post once a week, so just keep an eye out for it. Don't forget to leave a like and a comment, maybe with your top 5 choices from this season. There are so many good weapons from this season, and I'm sure you've all got different lists you're checking off. So anyway, first on my list is Salvager's Salvo. This is the new ritual weapon for a Season of the Chosen and is a breach load grenade launcher. Salvo does arc damage, which is a nice change if you're used to using Truth Teller. The perks on this weapon include lightweight frame, which gives you a bump in agility, which is great. Maybe it's just because I'm a hunter, but anytime I can go faster, I'm happy. The barrel and magazine perks include quick launch, spike grenades, and quick launch just ups the velocity, spike grenade increases the direct hit damage, and that's especially good since Bungie changed the way that grenade launchers work in the last update, where even if you're still holding the trigger, grenades detonate on impact. Also, since this is a ritual weapon, it actually has 4 potential perks. So the first 2 are Ambitious Assassin and Demolitionist. Ambitious Assassin allows you to overfill the magazine up to 2 grenades if you rapidly kill opponents before reloading. And I think we're all pretty familiar with Demolitionist by now, it just refunds grenade energy upon kills. Both of these are fantastic perk options, but I usually go with Ambitious Assassin because it's really easy to chain. For your first shot, you have 1 round in the magazine, of course, but after that it's very easy to chain kills, and once you have 2 grenades in the magazine after every reload, it becomes extremely easy to chain. Although I will say, I don't rule out Demolitionist. It's a great perk, and since you're taking out so many enemies at once a lot of the times, you're actually refunding a significant amount of grenade energy. So what I've found to be the case is that while Ambitious Assassin is great, sometimes Grenadier is actually a better choice if you're going up against just a lot of enemies at once. Since you're refunding so much grenade energy upon kills and getting your grenade back so often, it almost does the best of both perks, because you can use that grenade to reload your grenade launcher. And especially if you pair that with Stasis subclasses and the Whisper of Hedron's damage buff, chaining suddenly becomes even easier and allows you to clear out majors easier too. So moving on to the second column, you have either Vorpal Weapon or a Chain Reaction. You can go with Vorpal Weapon for just a standard 15% damage increase to majors and bosses, which never hurts. But generally you're not using this for higher tier enemies, and grenade launchers function best in my opinion when clearing adds, which Chain Reaction plays into perfectly. Chain Reaction is essentially Firefly for non-precision weapons, like grenade launchers or breach load grenade launchers in this case. So whenever you land a kill, your enemy explodes. This perk is lethal and tons of fun, as a lot of times you can fire a single round into a group of enemies and watch the entire group chain explosive arc damage. This weapon is honestly just a ton of fun and really good, so I totally recommend just grinding out some grenade launcher kills this season and getting your hands on this weapon, because it is well worth your time. My next pick on the list is Shadow Price. Shadow Price is a returning Destiny 1 legendary auto rifle and a common favorite. This auto rifle falls under the 450 RPM category, so it's a relatively slow-firing, high-impact, longer-range auto rifle. Just to be straightforward with you guys, honestly, one of the biggest reasons I'm looking forward to getting Shadow Price is for nostalgia's sake. Maybe this is exactly what Bungie wants, and I'm falling right into their trap, but I love playing with these Destiny 1 guns, and I'm kind of a sucker for nostalgia, and generally they feel pretty good, too, so a lot of my favorite exotics are from Destiny 1, and I'm finding that to be the case with a lot of these returning legendary weapons as well. So beyond nostalgia, why do I actually want this gun? Well, in reality, it's actually not a great pick at this point. 450 RPM auto rifles have not been meta for a while, and they haven't even been meta during their prime during Season of the Worthy or Season of Arrivals. Their time to kill isn't quite as high as 600 RPM autos and are generally outclassed by a lot of other primaries. I will say that using this archetype is convenient, it's consistent and pretty reliable. Generally they have pretty good range, so that is an edge you'll have over other auto rifle users, but again, a lot of other archetypes in this game like 120 hand cannons or pulse rifles are just going to outclass you while you're using Shadow Price. That said, all of those comments above were rather PvP oriented, and not everyone watching this video is going to be as interested in that. So what about from a PvE perspective? 450 auto rifles in PvE are pretty basic, but like I said, they're reliable and fun if you have the right rolls. 450s tend to be more stable, so when they feature perks like 4th times the charm, Outlaw, Rapid Hit, Firefly, and a few others like that, you can get a little more use out of them instead of struggling for headshots like you would with 720s, which can be like a fire hose of bullets. So the perks I'm looking at for Shadow Price, and I'm kind of excited about in terms of PvE, are going to be Overflow, Feeding Frenzy, Surplus, and maybe 4th times the charm. I really like that a lot of these are leaning into quicker reloads since Shadow Price doesn't have a huge magazine. If I had to pick one from the list, I'd probably pick Surplus since it buffs reload as well as handling and stability. The other ones are good, but they require kills for it to get rolling, and that's fine, but if you really want a well-rounded Shadow Price that fires like a laser, Surplus is probably the way to go. For the right column, I'd probably go with Firefly, Swashbuckler, and One for All. Firefly is great for clearing ads with explosive headshots, and Swashbuckler and One for All will be great for upping your damage pretty consistently. Disruption Break is an especially good option for nightfalls or strikes in general. Disruption Break lets you break elemental shields, solar or otherwise, and then pull out a kinetic and do 50% more damage with it. So if you like playing the support role in nightfalls or raids, then Disruption Break is perfect. So overall, my top pick for PvE would probably be Surplus and One for All, maybe Disruption Break. And then for PvP, I'd probably go with Surplus or Killing Wind, or Surplus and Swashbuckler, since landing a melee kill kicks that perk up to 5 times instantly. Unrelenting is one that might enter the discussion, but I find landing a double kill consistently in the Crucible with a 450 RPM auto rifle kinda unlikely. Either way, I'm excited to get this gun and see how it feels in Destiny 2. I'm kinda behind the curve on this one, so if you have it, let me know how it feels down in the comments below. My third pick on the list is the Messenger. I did actually get 4 different Messengers last week in Trials, and believe me, I suffered for those. But in the end, I didn't even land one with the thing I wanted most. Desperado. No, instead of Desperado, I got junk like Celerity, which, as you guys know, is a perk that relies on your teammates being dead, which means the round is probably already over. Seriously, out of the 2 columns of perks, Celerity is by far the worst out of any of them, and I'm pretty sure I got it twice. Perks like these should really be intrinsic on Trials weapons, just like Bottomless Grief should be intrinsic on Nightfall weapons. It's nothing that's going to break the game, and I think it would be a unique and fun edge you can bring into those activities. But as it stands right now, you're giving up way too much for these perks like Celerity, especially considering they only proc when your chances of taking over the round have already dropped off dramatically. Need I say more? Even among these other great perks, why am I so desperate to get Desperado? Well, what Desperado offers is insane, actually. Desperado bumps your low RPM pulse to a rapid fire after scoring a headshot and then reloading. Doing that is really not that hard when you have a potential to kill in 2 bursts as it is. Low RPM pulse rifles already have a great time to kill, but Desperado just takes it from good to ridiculous. Combining this with something like Zen Moment or Rapid Hit that buffs your stability as you land headshots or crits respectively is going to make Messenger an absolute death ray. Seriously, just go look up highlights from other people on YouTube. They land 1 headshot and it's practically over. Fortunately, I did get a Zen Moment kill clip roll, so it's good, but it's just not Desperado. In summary, Messenger is a great gun with higher base stats than other 340 pulse rifles. It's meta right now, and it boasts great perk combos, and by combos I mean any perk plus Desperado, PvE and PvP. Fourth on my list is Brass Attacks, the fresh replacement for Breachlight from Season of Dawn. This sidearm is an aggressive frame, 2-shot burst sidearm, which is a rather unique role. I've heard great things about this sidearm, and I'm very curious to pick it up since they're pretty fun right now and pretty effective too. I don't know that any other primary melts the same way that sidearms really do right now, especially in PvE, and since I wasn't a huge fan of the way Breachlight handled, I'm hoping this one feels a little better. I know Breachlight was a favorite among many, but I didn't enjoy the way it kicked. I couldn't be consistent with it. Fortunately, Brass Attack's base stat recoil direction is 92, so already pretty vertical. Putting on a counterbalance mod should make it perfectly vertical if I'm not mistaken, so that should help consistently I struggled to get with Breach Flight. As for perks, I'd probably go with Small Bore for the bump in range and stability, since base stability is only 42, which is kinda low. Topping that off with ricochet rounds should round things out pretty nicely. For the left column, I'd shoot for either Feeding Frenzy, Surplus, or Overflow. Sidearms have a way of burning through your mag pretty quickly, so having something to bump up your reload speed is always helpful, and especially with sidearms since you're up close and personal a lot of the time and don't want to be spending a lot of time reloading. What I like about Surplus in this case is that it's kind of a 2-in-1 deal here since it helps stability and reload, which sounds pretty great. Surplus proves itself to be a favorite perk of mine the more I use it. I know not everyone likes this perk since, depending on how many abilities you have at the time, it kind of throws off how you feel your gun. I know not everyone likes having your stability change as you use your gun, which I can definitely understand. But if you're one of the people like me who likes Surplus, I would say it's a pretty good option here. I also love Overflow since a lot of times you'll get special ammo to drop before you ever need to reload after picking up your first brick, since it adds so much to your magazine. I mean, you're going to be going on 44 to 50 rounds with Overflow on Brass Attacks. As for the right column, I'd probably run with Frenzy, Rampage, or One for All. One for All is probably the easiest to proc, then Rampage, then Frenzy. That said, if you can wait the 12 seconds it takes to proc Frenzy, you're going to be dealing some damage. The damage increase from Frenzy is greater than the other two perks, and it's going to most likely last longer too. Not to mention, Frenzy buffs your reload speed as well, which you could use to synergize with the first perk column for a very fast reload like Feeding Frenzy, or go for something different like Killing Wind or Slide Shot plus Frenzy. Either way, this is another gun I've heard great things about, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. The only reason I'm so behind on this is because I've been trying to power through light leveling so I can actually get my hands on some Grandmaster Adept weapons when they come out. And last on my list for the top 5 weapons I'd like to get during Season of the Chosen is Sola's Scar. Not Sola's Scar in its base form though, because caster frame swords are honestly pretty garbage. Specifically, I want to get Sola's Scar with chain reaction. I mean, what's not awesome about a sword that makes things explode? I think this perk was a great addition, and I'm glad to see it coming to more and more weapons. It's kind of unique. I mean, getting up close and personal with a sword and chaining explosions sounds like a lot of fun, even if other options are technically much better. I've liked using swords in Destiny ever since they were added in 2015 with the Taken King though, so finding a unique perk like this on a sword is definitely intriguing. I'm well aware that weapons like TQ's Divination, Trinity Ghoul, or Salvager's Salvo, among others, are going to be stronger options than Sola's Scar with chain reaction, but I just kind of like the idea. After all, I'm still playing to have fun and get weird, unique weapons, so at the end of the day, Sola's Scar probably falls under the category of fun, not so much meta or particularly lethal. I probably wouldn't take it into higher tier content. It's not going to be DPS for a boss, and it probably won't even be good against Nightfall champions. But having an ad clear sword just kind of sounds fun to me for what it's worth. What is unfortunate is that you're probably not going to have as much fun getting this weapon since it's from Trials, and it'll take at least 3 wins to get one if it's the 3-win reward for that week. This week it's currently the 5-win reward, and I got close last night at 4, but then I lost 3 in a row, so, I guess it's up to you to decide how much suffering and flawless sweaties you think it's worth dodging to get a meme sword. So for now, I think that concludes my top 5 list for this season. A few honorable mentions include Bottom Dollar, Extraordinary Rendition, Igneous Hammer, which I'll never get because it's a Trials weapon, and a top tier Code Duello. I'd love to talk about these, but honestly, I just kind of don't have time right now. But thanks for watching, I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe. Have a good one, and I'll see you guys in the next one.